welcome to another episode of Friend Outdoors.
On today's episode, it's November and the bucks are on their feet, frantically covering as much ground as possible, searching for the next hot doe. I've checked some trail cameras, and one of the better bucks that's in the area has began to show up on camera. So I'm focusing on that area and I decide to hunt from an elevated blind. As I get set up, the deer are moving well, and I'm hopeful today is my day. Here's what happens. This young buck was the first one to show up this particular morning as he began to go over the field checking the does. After about 20 minutes, this buck shows up and he begins to work his scrape. You can tell they're starting to feel it. This buck continued to work around the edge of the field, freshening up the scrapes that were down. These two young bucks decide to push each other around a little bit. Every time a new doe would come into the field, these young bucks would make their way over to check her out. These deer were on the move this morning as we saw several does and these two smaller bucks in the field. We were hoping that eventually a better buck would show up. All we could do was wait. I decided to get a trail camera and put it out there on a tree on this scrape as it was getting a lot of activity, and I got back in the blind for the evening's hunt. Eventually, one of the better bucks in the area decided to show up and check out a scrape. This buck put on a heck of a show, but he refused to come into bow range. Eventually, a doe showed up on the edge of the field to this buck's right, and they were off back into the timber, never giving us a shooting opportunity. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Here's a little backstory. The year before this hunt took place, we'd had a 9-point on our farm. We'd watched him and we'd let him go, hoping that he would make it to the next season. Well, he did, and he went from a 9-point to a 10-point, and he probably put on 20 or 25 inches of antler. So this was very exciting. But as October came, this buck disappeared. Even though we had some photos and some video of him, either it was at night or on days when we couldn't be there. So when he disappeared, he was gone for a couple weeks, and we had no idea if the buck was still alive or not. But as October turned to November and the bucks start getting on their feet cruising, looking for does, this guy showed up on this particular evening. And he went to a scrape that was on the back of the field. We'd had several different bucks hitting this scrape and licking branch as it was a primary location. So as he scraped and worked it, he really put on a show. It was exciting to watch. But unfortunately for us, when that doe showed up to his right, he was over the hill and into the oaks following her, and we didn't see him the rest of that evening. So all we could do was keep after him and hope that we'd get a shooting opportunity later in the season, as it was November and the bucks were moving. So we'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching today's video. Please hit that like button. We really appreciate it, and think about subscribing to our channel. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. It really helps us to grow. We also got a lot of short videos on our channel with a lot of different animals. Most of them are just 15 seconds. We really think you'd enjoy them. We'd like to thank our military personnel. Thank you for your service. Now for a preview of an upcoming episode on Friend Outdoor Adventures.